I apologize. I picked the silliest Troy Bolton picture I could find. But earlier this year, I was doing like a deep dive into High School Musical. And one of the things in my deep dive that I was specifically talking about was speaking about the patriarchy and white supremacy and the lessons in High School Musical that we can kind of take, that teach us these lessons about how these things are upheld and how we break free of the status quo. Because at the end of the day, we learned from High School Musical, do not stick to the status quo, okay? And if we're breaking free, we're soaring, flying, etc., etc. Nevertheless, I was really thinking about, why do people have such a hard time talking about these logistics of High School Musical outside of like the fun of it. And I've said this before here that, when I look back at Sharpay and what the kids took out of Sharpay's message is that she was someone who really just went out there and did that, right? Now, there are a lot of problematic things with Sharpay, just speaking, through it the lens of white supremacy patriarchy, right? That she was specifically doing that were like, yes, Sharpay is the problem. Anyone who sat here and said she wasn't, guys, let's be honest. You can like her, she's diva, I like her too, but like, she was a problem. I think anyone can resonate with, if you have worked really hard for something and you found your thing, you know your thing, and you've been doing it, and then some new guy comes in here and is like, wait, why is he allowed to be in here? Right? But when we think that, we fail to consider the story of High School Musical. And I think that's what happens because, like I said, Sharpay, she's cool, she's confident, she likes what she does. Unfortunately, she is going to sabotage people who want to try, because if we're trying, we're breaking free. Okay, if we're trying, we're breaking free of the status quo. Okay, guys, High School Musical lessons. But when I think of Sharpay specifically and why people don't like Troy, right? There is this element that we also can loop into when a man tries something new, right? And it's not that okay, a man under patriarchy, right? Isn't, let's just say in High School Musical, they didn't want him to try out for the musical, right? They don't want him to sing, dance, do the whole nine. Okay, but he has to break the status quo of patriarchy and do that, right? And he should be allowed to do that and have a chance, right? Because the thing of white supremacy is someone in power, Sharpay, right, has been in the School Musical time and time again and is like, listen, no one else gets a shot because everyone just assumed that I'm gonna be the lead and none of y'all get a fucking chance because you can never be as good as me, okay? And that's the like white supremacy of it all, and that's what I feel like people fail to consider. Is this even coherent? I feel like it isn't, but hope y'all are listening still. Right, that in fact is a problem in the way that competition is healthy, it's a part of life. We're all gonna get our chances to shine. Obviously, Sharpay has had plenty of chances, right? It makes sense that, they got some fresh meat into the theater and they said, let's make them the leads, right? I understand in the way that, is Troy Bolton the next Jeremy Jordan? No, he's not. It's okay, we can be honest. We can say Troy needed to get a chance, right? And Sharpay needed to be humbled a little bit. Troy needed to have a chance to break the status quo of patriarchy, okay? And get a chance to do the lead with Gabriella. Sharpay can't have it all, although we know she wants it all. And at the same time, we could be like, Troy Bolton wasn't like anything to write home about. It's great that he was doing that. I love that. But so often, specifically under patriarchy, considering women in the mix, right? That a man will come in, oh, now he has to be the best of the best, right? Even though he's not. Troy Bolton is not at all, right? So I understand in that regard from Sharpay's position why she didn't like Troy being there, right? In High School Musical 3, Miss Jarvis had put Troy's name in kind of the, what's the word? Whatever. The possibility for the scholarship for Juilliard, right? And Sharpay was like, he knows exactly what he's doing. I know this, da-da-da. Like, Troy didn't even really, the status quo of it all wasn't really giving musical theater a full shot at that point. But, like, she really saw that as, like, listen, you're coming in and you're taking my thing. And also, like, what makes you think you, Troy Bolton, are going to get the Juilliard Scholarship when I'm Sharpay Evans? You know what I mean? So I understand it from that perspective. I do. Because the Juilliard reps came and they were singing Just Want to Be With You. And they were like, now that's Troy Bolton. What was I'm sorry. Was he doing anything that involved, like, I mean, he wasn't doing anything, like, he wasn't bad, obviously, and I'm not trying to dish Troy, because yes, we want you to express yourself. We want you to get into musical theater and break the status quo of patriarchy, but, like, to act like he was the best of the best, I think that's really the issue that people take with when, I see people talk about High School Musical. That's it. And that's why the High School Musical conversations, I feel like, have to be nuanced takes, because you really have to sit for a minute and consider all the different things that are happening within all of these systems, right? And that's just a thing, and something I had noted about rewatching Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, which is basically just High School Musical before High School Musical, right? Is that Eddie got into cooking. He didn't win the cook-off, and I think that was a good thing, right? You have to go into it because you enjoy doing it, and doing it for the enjoyment, and not for the, I'm coming in, I have to be the best of the best, I'm gonna win, and gonna be better. Now, I don't think Troy had that attitude that he was trying to be better than Sharpay by any means. I think, Sharpay was just like, okay, like, I have been doing this here, and he just gets the lead because he, like, sounds kind of good and is singing for the first time, in that vibe. And I don't want to loop this in the way that, like, people should be given chances. Like I said, Sharpay, she's been the lead, okay? She's done this over and over and over again. And yes, we should give other people the opportunity, especially my argument was in high school theater. Like, this isn't Broadway where it's like, okay, you have to hit the mark on certain things. It's like, it's high school theater. Like, let's give the kids another chance, Sharpay. We have to share. But isn't that the thing that we need to consider is where, now, I'm not saying that Sharpay is thinking this interesting take by any means, but just considering for the overall conversation, the misogyny within fields, right? Where, like, a man comes in, he decides he's going to try this thing, whatever it will be, right? And that kind of mentality, he has to be the best, he's going to be platformed, right? Or rather than someone with experience like Sharpay, right? And there's so many, like I said, so many things to consider in this overall conversation. But this is where I say, as annoyed I can get by people saying that thing, like, oh, like, what's Troy, like, why does Troy all of a sudden get a lead? Where it's like, I said, we have to share. But, like, I understand from that perspective, right? Like, a man is coming in. He just got here, okay? And I've been doing this. Why does he get the promotion and I don't when I've been working? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's from that vibe. So it's just interesting in the overall conversation. And I really like to use the High School Musical conversations as, like, a learning moment to consider, like, where are people coming from and what is that root cause, right? And I really think it all boils down to that. It's just so interesting to continually be picking at High School Musical and realizing things all this time, as it passes. But it's just like, yeah, that's it. Even in Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, High School Musical's older sister, okay? It is really like, yeah, Eddie didn't have to win the cook-off because he was supposed to learn a lesson. Like, you have to go and break the status quo of patriarchy and just do it because you love it, even if people deem it's girly, right? You don't have to be the best of the best. Not that Troy was trying to do that, not that, Eddie was trying to do that, but, like, that's also the point. And while I thought it was interesting that, it was good to, like, not that I'm trying to humble anybody, but you know what I mean? Like, it's good that he specifically didn't win the cook-off in that regard, right? Because we do have to consider the overall message of it all. So to conclude this very long video, it's just that now that I'm looking at these conversations that people are having, I go, yes, I see what it is now. I see what it is. Whilst there are many things to consider, we're also talking about the misogyny when men get into things that women have been into and now take it over. And I think that's, like, the vibe that Sharpay was kind of feeling, and I think that's where people are coming from when they come into defense of Sharpay. And I just love thinking about these things. It's fun, it's interesting. That's the joy of, like, really thinking about and deconstructing all these different aspects of white supremacy, patriarchy, even capitalism throughout these movies and TV shows we watch. Like, there's always something more to think about. There's always so many different working parts that we need to consider into why are people having these certain takes? Why do I have my take? Why do you have yours? There's always something deep down in there that once we get to the nitty gritty of it, we go, yes, I see when you're coming from it at that perspective, 100%. We're both right. We're just each considering different parts, and then how do we mesh those together?